Hi, today we are going to talk about the setup functionality for AcctFusion. You'll need to do this before you start pushing transactions through in order to have a fully functional AcctFusion. So, first we'll click on Setup. Then, from here, you'll be able to see these different tabs: Receivables, Payables, Inventory, Advanced. What we're going to do is first go to Receivables. This is where you can first customize and edit your invoice setup. If you click Edit Invoice Setup, you can go into this screen. You can upload your company logo. It will appear right here. You can also customize the dimensions of where you want addresses and other things like that. You can do invoice comments, and as you can see, you'll be able to fill all this out. You can click Save, and that will be the invoice that is default as a template for your future invoices you send out. So next, in receivables, you can see payment terms. So there's a couple default payment terms that come with the AcctFusion. However, if you have different ones than these, you can go ahead and create those. All you'll need to do is click New Terms. So if you had, for example, net 20 days, and you want to do net 20, and then you could just do within 20 days, to due date is 20, and that is how the system will know to notify that someone is past due. Click Save. Right there, you can see that we have a new payment term. So the next thing in receivables is salespeople. You don't have to worry about that. And then also, if you desire to create specific customers that are not coming from Realty APX, so if there's not agents, or if there is just someone else you're receiving money from that isn't being used in property transactions, you can go ahead and click plus customer, and you can go ahead and fill out their information, and that will be added. The important thing to note, as you'll see later on in this video, is the group. Just make sure that you assign them to the correct group: agents, other, or title company. I'll go ahead and explain that a little later on, but you'll need to make sure to select the right one there. So from here also, you can email statements to customers to remind them, and that is the setup for accounts receivable. Next, we have accounts payable. The accounts payable, the vendors and agents, works just like what I talked about. If you are, maybe paying a utility company something that isn't an agent, it doesn't have to do with a transaction, you can go ahead and create a vendor or an agent right here, and once again, take special attention to the group that you assign them to. Next, the next thing we need to worry about on the setup for payables is credit cards. You're able to add this to if you have a credit card that you're using, and this is just for the accounting part of the system. So essentially, all you just need to do is enter the credit card name and whether it's company or shareholder, and whether that is ACT. The last thing on the payables is very important, which is the check setup. So the printing feature in AcctFusion allows you to print checks, and that is very useful. However, every check is different for each. Your check paper is going to be different for each company, and so this is just a default check stock. But what you're going to want to do is go and make sure that these dimensions work with your check. So we recommend using paper and doing a couple of practice printing jobs before you go ahead and use a real check, just so that the dimensions aren't off on that paper. So you can go in here, and as you can see, there's a lot of different dimensional ability to switch around here. So just go in here and make sure that check stock is correct. You can click Save, and then that will be the check stock that is defaulted and that you have active for AcctFusion. So with the inventory tab, all you need to know specifically with locations is to go in there and make sure that the location name is correct. That's all you need to do with that. The last tab you'll see here is the Advanced tab. So we want to first just talk briefly about the chart of accounts. You're not going to be touching this this feature unless you're an accountant and you have specific chart of accounts that you need for your business. Otherwise, it's default set up, and it should have everything that you need. And it's important not to mess with that, because it can really mess up and cause a lot of problems in the accounting system if you're playing with specific accounts that are linked to specific functionalities. But this is for the accountant who needs to go and change a couple things. So what you can do, you can go ahead and create new accounts. This is just done by that. You can create the account number, description, the type, the asset, liability, equity, and the subtotal on that. And so that's a good functionality with that. You can also go in, and if you really don't need a specific account and you don't want to ever see it, you can go and set that as not active. But once again, this is for, it's best just to leave it as it is, and if you need to add stuff, you can. But that is how the chart of accounts works and how you can see all of the different accounts in there. If you go back to setup, alright, the next thing that you'll need to do is to go into bank accounts. And there's default bank accounts, once again, that AcctFusion provides. However, you're going to need to go and add any other bank accounts if you have different ones than these. Also, the default is what will automatically be assigned when you're creating invoices or receiving payments or paying out. So if you don't want that as the default, you can switch that to a different bank account. And these are also used in the bank reconciliation, which I will go into in a different video. However, the important thing is just to make sure that is all how you'd like it. The last thing is payment types. Once again, there's these 5 default payments. If there's any others that you use besides these, you can go ahead and create a new payment type. Very simple, but and you can select the default as well if you want to. The last thing for advanced is, like I talked about earlier, the groups. And so the reason why it's important to select a correct group is because really you don't want to change these at all, because this is how, when a agent comes through, for example, the journal entries are automatically produced by this little setting right here. And so all the agents, we now know that the accounts receivable, accounts payable are correct with that specific group. And so that's why it's so important to choose a correct group when you're creating a vendor or a new customer, because based on that group is what account, what journal, or what account those will go into. And so you'll need to make sure to select the correct group when you're creating those, in order to make sure the accounting is how you like it and correct. So those are the main things that you'll need to set up before you start AcctFusion. And once again, it's crucial to do this before you start pushing transactions, so that you can get this all set up and have it ready to go when you start using AcctFusion full time.